Welcome to Not Just Book Reviews. I'm your host, Jeff Palermo, and this is my very first video for my YouTube channel. As such, I'd like to do a newbie book tag, which is a list of questions that some YouTuber sometime in the past came up with and that a lot of us new booktubers usually go through when we start our booktube channel. So it's about 11 questions. I'll run through them, and this will be my first introductory video. So welcome, and thanks for tuning in. So the first question is, why start a booktube channel? So I was the producer of a podcast called Sci-Fi on Screen that started in about 2014, 15, and ran pretty much my last show, I think, was last year. It's still up. I did about 150 shows, and I covered genre films. So I covered horror, science fiction, fantasy, comic book movies, and I did them pretty in depth. I had a ball doing it. I loved it. And it's been some time now since I've done it. And I don't know, I feel like I've said what I want to say about, 100 some odd movies. And I'll put a link in my About section if you want to go check it out. And it's in every podcast app you can find. It's called Sci-Fi on Screen. But it's been a while. And I actually, because of the pandemic, I really have gotten back into reading a lot, which is probably not so different from a lot of folks. But I really fell back in love with reading again, which is something that I used to, I've done for years. But movies and filmed entertainment sort of took over for a while, but books really have come roaring back. So I started watching Booktubers as well online, and the Booktube community is really great. They all connect to each other. So folks are doing book tags, which, to people who don't know much about Booktube, a book tag is a booktuber will come up with an idea, name your, I've been tagged on Book Tag Tuesday or something, name your 5 favorite books, tag, and then you do a video naming your 5 favorite books, or so on and so forth. It's a lot of fun, and everyone's commenting on each other's channels, and I found that wonderful, what a great community of readers, and they were reading wonderful stuff. I mean, just really eclectic books. So I've been following for a while, and as I've gotten back into reading, then I've been sort of like, hey, I want to jump into the ring. So I'm really excited. I love talking about books, and I love the whole Booktube community. So yeah, I started it because I don't know a lot of readers in my life, and I just love to talk about books. I love when people do book hauls and they talk a little bit about each little book that they read. Like, I love that. It's great. So I'm really looking forward to just being part of a bookish community. But I'm also going to cover film. I'm going to do TV. I'm going to do music. So I named the channel Not Just Book Reviews, so I could pretty much make it my media review channel for pretty much anything that I wanted. So it'll be mostly books, but it's nice that I'll have the opportunity to cover anything that I want. So yeah, that's why I started it. I love talking about books and movies and TV. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? I'm not sure yet. I hope to bring some interesting books to Booktube. I have a pretty wide-ranging tastes, which I'll get to later in the questions. But I'm not sure. I'm probably going to steal a lot of ideas from a lot of Booktubers who are already doing things until, I don't know, I get into the channel and get a yen to create some really cool, different content. I'm not sure. I mean, for now, I think I'm just going to read books and talk about it and see what that's like. And I'm also excited to read with a little more of a purpose. I think part of the first question too is I'm starting this channel because I find as I'm getting older, I'm in my early 50s now, I don't remember books. I don't remember often what I've read a year ago. And I remember reading a book and liking it, and I go to the book and I see underlines and all kinds of notes. I'm like, so what did the main character do? Where did they go? So this is kind of a thing also. I know that if you have to talk about a book or write about a book after you've read it, it's sort of imprinted into your memory. If you have to review, okay, what was the main story? Who are the main characters? And I think also this channel will help me to do that and approach each thing that I read as kind of a mini book report, which hopefully will allow me to retain it more and, get a deeper memory of all the things that I read. So that's part of it too. What are you most excited about? Probably that too, that my reading is going to change a little bit. I'm going to become a little more of an active reader. But I really am excited to become part of the community. So I'm excited to watch videos, comment on them, and then have people watch mine and comment them on them, and see what synergies come from other booktubers, and if we read things together and all that. So the community really kind of excites me. Again, plus the reading with a purpose. I think that's going to be kind of cool. Why do you love reading is the next question. And I've really been thinking a lot about this past year. And I think the answer is I love reading because I'm the best film director who ever lived when I'm reading a book. You know, it's the best shot, the best effects, the best acting. Everything is perfect in my head. When an author lays out a book, you know, I'm the greatest director because I'm seeing it the way I would want to see it. And that's become more and more compelling, I think, as streaming is becoming more and more prevalent. There's something about the quality of more and more streamed entertainment that I'm just finding very lacking in a lot of ways. And, you know, as I do this channel and as I review filmed entertainment too, I'll probably talk a lot about that. But when I read a book, it's, you know, Ridley Scott and Stanley Kubrick and, you know, Spielberg, and they're directing my books, right? So it's the best thing you've ever seen. So I really love that. And I love the active, reading's very active, where sometimes filmed entertainment can be too passive for me. If I'm sitting watching something, where's my phone? I'm a little antsy. It's a very passive thing. Whereas when I'm reading, it's more of an active thing. And there's something about that I've really enjoyed. So yeah, and I think I've always loved reading for entertainment, for art. Books have taken me through some very difficult times in my life. I feel like I am very passionate about books because I have a very deep relationship with them too. So on that side, I love reading for a lot of reasons. What book series got you into reading? So when I was very young, from as far back as I can remember, as a kid, I was probably given children's books and picture books. I remember Mike Mulligan and his Steam Shovel was one of them, and Caps for Sale with a lot of monkeys. These are books that are kind of like somewhere in my memory. Shel Silverstein books, I think, The Missing Piece when I was very young. I grew up in the 70s, obviously, so I'll be a bit dated. Captain Gray by Avi was one. But I think in terms of series and books that really got me going, I think The Black Stallion was one of the first that I hooked into that I really loved. And they were like 15, 16 books written by a guy named Walter Farley. They're terrific books for what they call children of all ages, right? They're wonderful Black Stallion books. So those were big in my childhood. And then I discovered Encyclopedia Brown. Encyclopedia Brown books were great because Donald J. Sobol was the author, and he would write them where if you paid very close attention at the end of each little story. So Encyclopedia Brown, there were like maybe, 10 of them. And each book was full of short stories. And at the end of the story, Encyclopedia Brown has kind of solved the case. And the author, Donald Sobol, says, do you know how? And so you go back, pore over like someone who said what wrong, where was the clue? And then in the back of the book are answers. So if you can't figure out, what the answer is, you go to the back of the book and the answer is there. So it kind of solved the case. So I remember being really into that as a kid, really loving that. And then The Three Investigators were huge for me. I love The Three Investigators. I dipped a little bit into Hardy Boys, but even as a kid, the Hardy Boys were just, I don't know, they were kind of boring. I read the first maybe 3 or 4 of them. I loved the old blue hardbacks that they used to have, were wonderful. But The Three Investigators that was my jam. Those were my guys. So I love The Three Investigators. And then I think as a young teen, maybe 12, 13, 14, I discovered Lord of the Rings. So somebody gave me The Hobbit for Christmas. I read it. I couldn't believe how amazing it was, and then I dove into the Rings trilogy, and that was huge. And then on the science fiction side, I read 2001: A Space Odyssey. I think before I saw Star Wars, and definitely before I saw the film, because back in the 70s, we didn't have VCRs, so you either saw a crappy edited version of something on television or it was rerun, and I lived on a suburb on Long Island. We didn't have any second run theater houses, so. But I remember 2001 made a very deep impact on me. It was, I think I was 12 or 13 when I read it, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, the ideas and the scope of it, I never experienced anything like that before. So that was really something. I remember that to this day. And of course, Lord of the Rings as well. So yeah, that's kind of what got me off and running, I would say. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? So, kind of strange ones. I think I'm always curious what people do for a living. Just find it fascinating. I mean, we all booktube. We all love books and reading, and we come into these rooms by ourselves in front of a camera, and we talk about them for a long time. But I'm always curious what people's lives are like. What do they do for a living? Where do they live? And I'm always curious about people's reading habits. Some people read a ton of books, and it blows me away. I'm a very slow reader, and I'm always curious about people's reading habits. Where do they read? What time of day? How busy are their lives? So so those are kind of I don't know. Those are my curious questions, I think, for other booktubers. The hardest challenge in starting a booktube channel. Definitely not reading books, definitely not talking about books. I'm pretty good with technology, so YouTube has been pretty easy. I think the challenge is going to be video cameras and lighting and speaking, and not moving my hands a lot. I am Italian American descent, and I tend to move my hands. I need to probably tie them up. I've been touching my face a lot, so I need to learn how to speak on camera in a way that comes across, as well as I could come across. And I think I have a lot to learn. So this is, hopefully I'll look back on this first video in years to come and think, well, wow, I came a long way. But I feel like the greatest challenge will be presenting myself and my background and, eventually getting into lighting and figuring things out. And then, the challenge of editing too. I've edited audio before for my podcast, but I've never edited video. So I have a free editing suite that I downloaded, and I have to take a tutorial. I have no idea how to edit video. So that'll also be a big challenge. When did you start reading? So that's kind of a repetitive question. I would say I probably started when, my parents gave me picture books when I was, very young child. What kinds of books do you like to read? So I think I cut my teeth on genre when I was very young. Lord of the Rings, science fiction and fantasy were big. I read a lot of Robert E. Howard Conan when I was a kid. I read a lot of fantasy, Eddings and Raymond E. Feist, and I read Dune, and I read Philip Jose Farmer. But then as I got older, I really started to get curious about literature. So I went out and I read, I really got a taste for high literature. I just finished rereading War and Peace recently, and I hope to do a multi-part presentation about it, because it's like my third reread. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and each time I read it, it unfolds something new. So I do love the heavies, but I do love my genre. Like I just started reading Louis L'Amour. I discovered him, and he's terrific. I'm reading some Ian Fleming as well right now. I'm trying to get through The Wheel of Time. I've 3 tries, and I stall out at Lord of Chaos, but I feel like I really want to get through that damn series. But I do want to read more poetry. I want to read more nonfiction. I like travel, really well-written travel literature as well. So yeah, I'm all over the map. And right now I'm doing a deep dive into weird fiction of the 30s. So Lovecraft and Clark Ashton Smith, and Algernon Blackwood. I'm reading The Willows right now. So a lot of, I'm all over the map, and I'm just discovering the weird stuff now, which is great. So it's reading's the best. I mean, it's just the best. You go along for half your life, and then you discover an entire new vistas of books and stories and stuff that you've never even touched before, and it's great. So I'm an equal opportunity reader, and also give me a Lee Child book and I'm your man. And the last question: what does your book collection look like right now? It's kind of hinky. I have half of it in a closet. I have the other half in some bookshelves in my room. I've moved a lot recently, and I'm living with a roommate right now, so don't have a lot of places to really spread it out. I had to sadly truncate some of it when I left my apartment a couple of years ago, so it's in a weird state right now. It's kind of half packed away, and the closet's in half on shelves, so it's not fit for visual consumption, as they say. So yeah, that's I kind of miss having the bookshelves. I love watching the booktubers who have these wonderful rooms, or their backdrop is all bookshelves, and so this backdrop is in our shared living room, and those are not my books really, but I don't have a good wall in my bedroom to show off my books, or the lighting's not right, whatever. So yeah, my collection's not that great. So anyway, that's the Newbie Book Tab questions, and this is my first introductory video. Really excited to be part of the Booktuber community, and looking forward to posting some more videos. So hit subscribe if you like what you hear, and I'll see you next time.